Today, we're diving into the story of a man who changed the world. Not with an army, not with weapons, but with an idea. This is the incredible story of Mohandas Gandhi, Bapu, and how he showed everyone that truth could be the most powerful weapon of all. All right, let's jump right in. But before we get to the global icon, I want you to forget all that. Just for a second. Instead, picture this: a bustling little coastal town in Gujarat, India. The year is 1869. This is where it all begins. So, our first stop is his early life, the journey of a boy named Mohandas, from a quiet kid in India to a young man trying to make his way in the massive city of London. This is the foundation, for the person he's about to become. And what's so wild is just how ordinary his beginnings were. Seriously. He was born into a deeply religious family, but he wasn't some prodigy. He was a shy, kind of average student. He was even married to his wife, Kasturba, when he was just 13 years old. Maybe that shyness is what made him look for a different kind of strength, something inside. And at 18, his ambition was pretty simple: head to London, become a lawyer. But then, this one moment, this one event in his ordinary childhood pretty much sets the stage for everything. He steals some money, and the guilt just eats him alive. So he writes a confession to his father, bracing himself for the worst. But instead of getting angry, his father just cries. And in those tears, Mohandas saw something incredible: the power of truth, what he called satya. That lesson stuck with him for life. So he's got this deep belief in truth, but that belief is about to get its biggest test yet. He finishes law school, and a job takes him all the way to South Africa in 1893. He shows up as this quiet, well-dressed professional, but one single night is about to change his entire life. And this is it. This is the moment everything changes. He's on a train, right? First-class ticket in his hand, and he gets thrown off. Why? For no other reason than the color of his skin. As he's sitting there, shivering in the cold on that dark, empty platform, he makes a decision. He's not going to accept this. He is going to fight this injustice. But how? How do you fight back without becoming the very thing you hate? Well, Gandhi came up with a whole new idea, a real game changer. He called it satyagraha. It literally means holding firmly to truth. This wasn't about just sitting back and taking it. No. This was an active struggle. It was about using moral force to awaken the conscience of your opponent. It was revolutionary. Fast forward 21 years. He's not the same man who left. He returns to India in 1915 with this new philosophy, this new weapon. And the people of India give him a new name: Mahatma, which means great soul. He was home, and he was ready for the biggest fight of his life: freedom for India. So does this satyagraha thing actually work on the massive scale of India? Well, he didn't have to wait long to find out. In a place called Champaran, he started organizing these dirt-poor farmers who were being totally exploited by British landlords. And using nonviolent protest, he won. It was proof. The idea forged in Africa could work right here at home. And from that one victory, things just blew up. After the absolutely horrific Jallianwala Bagh massacre, where British soldiers opened fire on a peaceful crowd, the whole country was in shock and rage. Gandhi harnessed that energy, and he launched the non-cooperation movement. He called on millions of Indians to peacefully boycott everything British: schools, courts, clothes, you name it. The plan? To bring the entire colonial system to a grinding halt with nothing but moral willpower. But here's where you really see what he was made of. This commitment to nonviolence, it was absolute, no exceptions. When a protest in a small town called Chowri Chowra turned violent and some policemen were killed, Gandhi did something nobody expected. He called the whole thing off. The entire national movement. A lot of people were furious with him, but for Gandhi, how you fought was just as important as what you were fighting for. Nonviolence wasn't a strategy, it was everything. All right, now we get to what is probably the most iconic act of defiance in modern history. I mean, think about it. How do you challenge the mightiest empire on earth? With guns? With an army? Nope. Gandhi's answer was salt. So here's the deal. The British had a law making it illegal for Indians to make or sell their own salt. You had to buy it from them, with a heavy tax, of course. To protest this simple, cruel law, Gandhi, who was 61 years old, mind you, started walking. He and just 78 followers set off on a 240-mile trek to the sea. And when he finally reached the coast and picked up that little handful of salty earth, he said this. And he was right. That one simple act lit a fire across the country. Millions of people started making their own salt, openly defying the British, getting arrested by the thousands. It was a moment of pure genius that the whole world watched. You can really see how the struggle intensified over time. The Salt March in 1930, that was all about the steady, relentless pressure of civil disobedience. But then you jump ahead to 1942. World War II is raging, the tone changes. Gandhi launches the Quit India movement, and the slogan is much more urgent: do or die. It wasn't just a protest anymore, it was an ultimatum. And so, after all those decades of struggle, they did it. Freedom finally arrived. But it wasn't the clean, unified victory that Gandhi had poured his life into. It was a moment of incredible triumph, yes, but also of just unbelievable heartbreak. On August 15th, 1947, India was finally independent. But that joy was completely overshadowed by the horror of partition. The country was literally ripped in two, creating India and Pakistan. The violence, the millions of people displaced, it shattered Gandhi's heart. He had fought for one free India, and this was a devastating blow. And while he was desperately trying to calm the fires of that violence, his own life was cut short. On January 30th, 1948, on his way to an evening prayer meeting in Delhi, he was assassinated by a Hindu extremist who hated his message of peace and tolerance. His last words, they say, were a prayer: "Hey Ram." You'd think that would be the end of the story, right? The man is gone. But in a strange and powerful way, the bullet that ended his life made his idea immortal. It couldn't be stopped. And that idea just spread like wildfire. I mean, look at this. What Gandhi started in India became a powerful playbook for change all over the world. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., leading the civil rights movement in America, he studied and used Gandhi's methods. Nelson Mandela, in his own fight against apartheid, pointed back to the man who began his own journey right there in South Africa. Which brings us right back to where we started. It's an incredible transformation, isn't it? From a small, shy boy who was literally afraid of the dark to a man who stood up to the most powerful empire on earth and won. So it all comes down to this one simple question that his entire life seemed to ask. His life was proof that real strength isn't about how hard you can hit. So we're left with this to think about. In the long run, what's really stronger? The fist, clenched and ready to strike, or the open hand, offered in peace and truth?